Big Vincenz, how are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. We had a catching up before, but I trained some jiu-jitsu this morning, so what are we now? 10:30. Yeah, crack of dawn. I'm feeling activated, having done the early morning class.
Of course, I felt that energy that you had, and I was like, fuck, I need to get on that train. I started doing some push-ups.
I've also had 2 coffees.
Yeah.
You know.
I was up early, but came in here early, opened up the diary, get the day going, went had some breakfast, did some programming on my laptop, came here and realized I actually haven't done much talking to other people. So before jumping on the potty, I was like, fucking get me there. Need to get to Joey's level.
Yeah, you got to get the vocal cords
Yep.
warmed up. Talk to me about podcasts that you've been listening to lately. I thought we'd give the people a little bit of an insight into what we've been hitting.
Yeah, I haven't been listening to that many podcasts. You know, at different times, I'm in and out of, just on a run where you're just finding fucking lots of things and loving it. But I have been listening to one, Gary's Economics. I sent it in our chat group the other day.
Did you?
Alliance one. It was, but no, with no context, because we'd come out of our meeting with Esther and stuff, and I just fucking plonked it there.
Okay, I remember the link, yeah.
Yeah. Gary's Economics.
I mean, economics is one of those ones for a lot of people. It's like, oh, that sounds boring. But I detect that perhaps it's not so boring.
No, it's probably a life stage thing as well.
It's true.
But yeah, so the fella Gary, he's an economist, and he used to work for Citibank in the UK. He's British, and he was there for like 15 years or something like that. Came from a poor background, but was really smart, and went to LSE, which is like a big economics school over there, and ended up in this flash job. And anyway, he's left that, and his podcast is actually, it's really a political project that is what he says, and he's basically trying to educate people around the fact that living standards are dropping, and that's because we need to tax the rich, and the rich are just getting richer, and the poor are going to get poorer unless we start doing something about it.
Yeah.
So he's really talking about inequality on his podcast.
Oh, wow.
And the way that kind of the solution to that is in part like educating the people and trying to change, what everyone knows about it, and so that we can push it upstream, right? Because like it's really, you have to. Economics, I think, is one of those things that controls a lot of shit in the world, but most normal people have no idea how it fucking works.
Yeah.
And it's tied in with politics, and kind of a lot of things affect it in our everyday lives, but we just don't know the forces. It's just like too much to comprehend. So he's on this podcast, and he's just does everything in layman's terms so you can understand it, and also he's pushing his perspective on the whole thing as well.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Does he have like a particular does he have like a Marxist philosophy, or is he pro capitalism? Like, does he talk about any of that?
I think that he does. I'm only a few episodes in. The algorithm just fed it to me, and then I've gone back and started listening to. He's gone and made a 1 to 4 part series about his podcast. It's actually pretty smart. He recognizes that for some podcasts, you just jump in the middle of wherever they are, and you just start listening to episodes.
Yeah.
And so he's gone back and he made like a short series, which is basically, hey, if you've just gotten to this podcast, this is the perspective, and these are all of the things that you should know. That's, understand these theories, and this is kind of where I'm coming from.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm only kind of through that. But he's very much there for social welfare. And so inequality is at the core of his message. And basically what did he do? He went into the fucking floor, the stock markets, and working for Citibank. And he made lots of money because, they all kind of bet on predictions. And his predictions were surrounding his theories on inequality. And basically he just made lots of money and just got everything right for a very long time. based on his theories, and this is basically his theories that he's trying to promote.
Oh, wow. So his theories enabled him to make a lot of money on the stock market.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And his kind of thing is that, well, he's betting on the collapse of society,
Yeah.
and he's not okay with that. So when he has kids, and he says, "Yeah, well, yeah, I got really rich betting on the collapse of society," and the kids say, "This is because of a little clip I saw of him." Kids say, "Oh, what'd you do about it?" It's like, yeah, you're right. Like he wants to do something about it. So he's coming from that place.
Yeah, wow.
It's pretty interesting. I recommend it.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend it.
That sounds up my alley for sure. I'm trying to think of a way to make a case for people to have an interest in listening, because obviously the people that are interested in economics will be like, yeah, cool, I'll check it out. But most people will be like, oh, that sounds so boring.
No, I can make it relevant because this is why he explains. And let me try, because I grew up without any knowledge of how those sorts of forces work. No financial fucking education whatsoever. I wish I had. So I'm definitely...
Because money is the root of all evil.
That's right. And so, I'm definitely the target for him. Like I had no one to kind of bring me up. I had no parents who had money, who went to university, who had businesses. Like I don't have that. So where it's relevant for the normal person is that, and it's a bit grim because of the perspective. It's the rich is getting richer and the poor is kind of getting poorer. And so even if you work hard and there's this idea that if you just put your head down and work really hard, you do the right things, make the right decisions, save up, make a house, get a house for your kids. He's saying the way that things are rigged up at the moment is that's not even going to matter. At the moment, the way it's sliding, at a time that was true, like say our parents' generation, but the way that things are going now, you're going to end up, even if you buy a house and you acquire that asset, which is really the banks, and maybe you pay it off, by the time you hit retirement age, you're going to have to use all those funds for you to retire on anyway. And you literally plots out how that happens. And you basically end up with about the same as what you had when you started. Like you're going to zero out.
Go back to zero.
Yeah. And basically he's promoting class awareness.
Depressing.
And so we're like in the lower to kind of middle class now, I would say I'm at. I don't know how they really rate those, and the middle class is kind of big at the moment, and then you've got like the ultra rich 5 to 1% at the top, and he's saying we need to tax them more because at the moment the way that it's going, the middle class is going to continue shrinking. They're going to keep getting richer and richer, and then what happens is they end up, you think that they don't care about the things that you care about, but it ends up competing on the things that affect you every day, and house prices are the ones is such things.
Right.
So it's going to be harder and harder to afford a house. It already is, and that's just going to be harder and become harder and harder.
Yeah, and they predict they're going to double again in the next 5 or 10 years, don't they? At least here in Sydney.
So people who have managed to potentially own their houses, and our parents who bought houses, and we know like that whole story where it's like they had a very, was a milkman and managed to save money, be living on one wage with 4 kids and bought a house.
Yeah.
We might end up having to sell those in order to survive at some point, and we could end up looking like a different, country like in South America or something like that where there's the middle class is kind of going.
Yeah, you got lower and upper.
Yep. And, the poorer are just going to increase.
Yep.
So it's just basically cost of living and services are just going to keep going up.
Yeah, fuck, it's depressing. And yeah, depressing reality. To that point, did you listen to that one I shared with you, Yanis Varoufakis?
No, not yet.
Yeah, he talks. I don't know if he talks about it in that podcast. He is a Greek Australian economist.
That's right.
He lectured at Sydney Uni, and he was also the Greece's Minister of Finance during their financial collapse.
Okay.
He got brought in at the 11th hour. But he's been extremely critical of Australia's use of housing as an investment vehicle. And he's like, that will bring the Australian economy undone. And that's, and you think about it, right? Like that it's always been the thing. It's like, get a house and you'll be sorted. And it was for so long, you know, like for our parents' generation, if you could get a house, you were sorted, right? If you lived through this property boom and your house became worth so much money, you build up this nest egg, like, you know, whatever, almost overnight. But it's come to an end. And yeah, but it's still the primary investment vehicle for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, got to get a house. There's other things that can be invested in, right? But yeah, we still incentivize that so much here.
Yeah. Well, it's I guess it's the physical assets that are the safest ones, I think, that are the surest ones. You know, because there's a lot of tech and stuff going around right now, but like any of that could collapse at any point. Whereas land is land and gold is gold.
Yeah, I think it's that. And I think, I mean, I don't know how that stuff works, but I think like that's fine, right? Yeah, like bricks and mortar are always going to be like a sound investment, you could say, because it is a physical piece of property. But incentivizing homeowners to have multiple homes, this is the tax breaks of negative gearing and whatnot that you get when you own multiple investment properties, which that system is clearly crooked because we don't need people with 4 properties to be able to buy a 5th, a 6th, because there's people that can't get one. So it should be the case of like, yeah, we'll help you to get one.
Yeah.
But fucking that's enough, you know? I mean, you know, like it just, yeah. And it's interesting talking about that class thing because you have your mentality, right? Like I have a working class mentality because that's what my parents gave me.
Yep.
But my parents are property owners and I'm a property owner. And inherently, I will selfishly want things that are going to make it easier for me to own more property because I'm trying to get ahead.
Yep.
So whether or not that makes me actually in a different class, I don't know how you would separate the two, but you become your own worst enemy because you're like, yeah, that's fucking unfair. It shouldn't be that way. But fuck yeah, let's get another house. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because that's what the system sort of encourages you to do.
Yeah. So I think from the episodes I listened to on Gary's, like even if you had 6 properties, you're still in the middle class based on what he's talking about, which is like the top 5 to 1% of people, and he describes wealth because, you know, I don't even know the definition of it, but he's trying to, you know, make that make sense to people like us. And he's talking about how there's wealth everywhere. And if you look at, say, all the buildings that you see everywhere, someone's getting paid for those. And so when you look at all residential property, mostly a lot of that is owned by middle class and like normal people do own houses. But then you look at all the commercial properties and when you look at those are like, you know, where the really rich people own.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you think houses are expensive. That tiny factory over there is worth millions and millions.
Yeah.
Not to mention that massive factory, which
Yeah.
also has 2,000 employees that pump out all of these exports and blah, blah, blah. And so there's like a level of mega money out there.
Yeah.
And there's actually lots of people who are really rich in the 5-6%, and then there's the 1%. But we're still borrowing money to buy, say, our few properties, whereas they have a level of passive income, which is just going to make them it just means they get richer and richer. They can't, even if they try really hard, they can't spend all of their passive income in 1 year because it might be $100 million
Yeah.
of just
And
passive
it just
income.
grows exponentially.
Yep. And so they also want to just keep buying stuff as well because that's just what you do. But what they buy ends up changing, and that's what kind of affects markets a lot and affects costs of living and stuff like that because they'd end up scooping stuff around in your neighborhood that affects the prices and renters to buy a fucking simple home because they're just buying more and more shit, just accruing more and more wealth.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a really fascinating point. I do often you sometimes think about that when you drive through the city.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, someone paid for that to be
Yeah.
built, and someone owns that,
Yeah, that's right.
or you know, or whatever collective own it. But yeah, it's and then yeah, people are extracting rent from that.
And everywhere you pay $1 for anything, service or anything, there's always part of that dollar going to a wealthy person of that ilk. Like whether it's food or whatever it is, someone's paying rent to someone who owns that piece of land or in that building. And that's part of your dollar that I just spent over here is going to someone that's mega rich.
So does listening to that show make you, what's the main thing that affects how you see, like?
It's very odd actually, because the last couple of weeks listening to it, it has opened my eyes a fair bit to lots of things. Just understanding how things are working, kind of, I don't know. It's given me like a more broader understanding of things, it has brought me a bit of, I don't know what the word is. Yeah, I'm still working things out, but it's given me a broad perspective that I'm just kind of digesting at the moment. It kind of sets me up for more of a broader mission actually, because I'm thinking about my finances and my setup more, and you know where I'm putting my energies into. It's helping me kind of with that, and like we went to this fucking coffee thing on the weekend with the coaches. Coffee tasting over at Roseville. Fucking unreal place. Unreal coffee there, and the food's great and everything. And, you know, hanging out with the owner, him taking us through all this stuff. And I was just sitting there going, we're talking about coffee prices. Crystal was asking about cups of coffee, like, because I don't know if you noticed, the price of coffee just went up big time.
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, ours just went up like 50% a cup takeaway and $1 if you're having it in, which is quite a big jump.
Wow.
Coffees are like $5 now. It's like a single shot one. Yeah. It's more for a double shot. Yeah, I had a $6.50 fucking double shot coffee at Birkenhead Point the other day.
Boom, boom.
And
Dunkin' Donuts, going premium.
So, you know, and I'm just there going, oh, wow. Like what's happened is basically like coffee wasn't like that at a time, but luxury spending for middle class that's been growing for a long time has enabled these sorts of things. In the same way I think about One Drop as well. And so, which is like, you know, they're premium beers, it's specialty, luxury beer, however you want to call it. It's like, you know, you go for a fucking 6-pack or these days, and well, they're all selling 4-packs at the same price. Like 4-pack is like $25-$30 now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the middle class has been growing, and so that's enabled that. The market demand to buy luxury shit has meant that coffee has become more competitive, and then the standards of coffee has gone up because it's specialty. And he's like, oh, mate, we're like, what has made it so good? What is it about Sydney? The guys were asking that. Why are we so good at coffee? Was the question that Dylan asked. And it's not because we're doing anything special. It's like, oh, Aussies. You know, it's our culture and how we think about things. We're just really good with processes. It's because there was a demand for this luxury thing. And back in the day, there was only one luxury coffee place. And now it was Campos at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only like 20 years ago. And now look at it.
So the fact that there's a demand has driven the standard of that.
Yeah,
like the competition has driven the standard up
Campos,
higher.
I used to line up down the street for Campos.
Yeah.
And they just held firm. That's the only place in the inner west you get this sick coffee, amazing experience. Some years later, they finally decided to start stocking at other places.
They did a really good job, by the way, to have been the first and still be as dominant as they are.
And now, you know, a lot of coffee people see that Campos is, I don't know, for lack of a better term, sold out, but also pay homage to the fact that they were there at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so more and more competition came as the demand was there for more and more coffee. People want more fucking coffee, mad coffee everywhere, every corner.
Yeah.
Now Sydney wide. So then, yeah, it did get better. And that's kind of one of the charms, of capitalism, I guess. It's like the market demands. And now we're really good at coffee. Coffee prices are going up everywhere in the world. but then you've got this finite resource as well. So he was talking about like the cost of coffee. So, I think that what happens at the top there is like something to do with there's only so much coffee you can fucking grow because it's like wine. You only have one harvest. So, farms are expanding over in South
Those
America
pesky
and
farmers are
Ethiopia,
getting rich, putting their prices up.
and there's a whole thing going on with the beans and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That is like a competitive market at the moment.
Yeah, you got all these Westerners descending on like Indonesia and shit to buy or Central America, whatever, to buy the beans. That's obviously driving those prices up.
Yeah.
Comes back, the beans are now fetching, the coffee's fetching a higher price.
And even what the demand is on the pallet here in Sydney or around the world ends up affecting how the farmers process it. Because he was going through the processes, and basically when a taste gets kind of trendy and we're liking this and that, eventually that feedback loop will go back to the farmers. Because basically you buy whatever the farmers are doing. They're doing a wash variety, they're doing this varietal fucking mix or whatever. And anyway, it was just like that whole conversation about it, and just thinking about what I was learning with the economics podcast was just like, I was starting to understand how this all works. And I'm like, wow, this whole coffee scene is just part of this fucking big thing. Eventually, I think that there will be a ceiling to all of it. Like, I don't know if it's going to burst in a bubble, but it can only go so far.
Well, with coffee specifically, or just spending on luxury items?
Yeah, luxury items, or just those basically classes. And this is kind of what he's saying on this podcast is eventually the top will end up squeezing out the middle class. That will shrink, and poor people will get bigger, like more and more. So I met this dad at this party Lucy was at yesterday. He works for TUI's, and he basically described a similar thing. And that's kind of where the podcast has just got me thinking. Works at TUI's, and that's been a whole thing, right? Because it was only a few big brewers in Australia, and now you've got craft beer, which came in last 20 years and whatnot, and that blew up. But now that's also fading off a little bit and we know like cost of living is so expensive to buy all these fucking mad beers.
Yeah.
So there's a little shrink
and the
in
market's
that market.
obviously not big enough for all of these microbreweries.
Yeah, that's right.
So TUI's and what have they been buying up? I'm guessing a lot of those smaller brands.
They have some, but not micro.
Right.
I think and I don't know that scene very well, but when I mentioned that to the guys, James Squire and stuff like that, which I don't think I would categorize them as micro anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, So they have a little finger in that pie, but not like a lot of these little ones in the inner west sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they've been, doing it pretty tough, those microbreweries. And so, 4X and fucking TUI's have actually been doing really good numbers this year.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because it just that turnover.
Cheaper, people are coming back.
Because at the end of the day, people got to drink beer, and the same way that people got to drink coffee. Got
to drink beer.
Poor people still need coffee. So, yeah, it was just so. Anyway, still digesting the information, but I don't know, it's got you thinking about how things work.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's funny thinking about like that luxury spending thing. It's like when you talk to, I remember talking to my parents about this kind of stuff over the years, and they'd say like, you guys can go on overseas holidays like every year, or that's something that your generation does.
Ours or theirs?
Yeah, ours. Yeah. You guys say, but they're like, we never did that. We never went over. Maybe went overseas once or twice in your life, and kind of thing. And I mean, most people aren't doing overseas holidays every year right now, but or like buying your coffee out, right? They never bought their coffee out. It's like you made it at home if you had some, or going to a cafe to get breakfast. Like, no, you fucking made your own breakfast. And so you get this impression of like, yeah, wow, we're really frivolous with our spending. And we are like, and you also get an impression of like, oh, we're much wealthier than they were. But it was just different because they were also able to save up for 6 to 12 months and buy a home.
Yeah.
Right? For their family and pay off their mortgage within 20 years and, it was all theirs. And so,
Yeah.
and you're like, fuck, that's definitely not happening in our time. So it's just interesting to consider that difference in it's like that luxury spending thing where it's like where the market, like there wasn't a market for a cafe on every corner back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't a market for smashed avocado and, people buying 3 takeaway coffees a day. But now there is. And so, and then once that market's there, that then shapes the behaviors of all the people that are in the market. So then you're like, yeah, I fucking buy coffee every day. And then before you know it, you're caught up in this thing, whether or not you even want it to be, but it's almost like a self-fulfilling sort of system, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I guess population has grown massively since their day as well. So the cities are getting bigger and there's a lot of more. Is there more work in the cities? I don't know. But I think that working hours would almost definitely have grown if you were to just say, look at how many hours the average person worked back in the 80s or 70s or whatever that might be to now, which means that, we've all specialized a bit more, which means we don't have time to fucking make breakfast and make dinner for our families because we've got to eat on the run and we've got to be out and we're tired, so we're drinking more coffee. So it's really like working a lot more, spending a lot more.
Man, if you listen to Richard Wolff, who's we're talking about recommending podcasts, I recommend any podcast that he's on.
Oh, yeah.
He's an economist from Stanford or Harvard, I can't remember which one. Really a fascinating guy to listen to, but he's a Marxist. So he knows Marx's work very well, and he supports that ideology of running an economy. And if you listen to him, what you learn is that what Marx's whole philosophy was about was really a critique of capitalism. That's what it was. It didn't even so much initially talk about much of an alternative. It just critiqued capitalism because that was the prevailing economic model, right? That the West was following. And yeah, he lays out that case very clearly that minimum wage has gone down since like pretty much steadily, I think since like 1960, 1970 thereabouts. Minimum wage has gone down. Income per household has gone down. And this is even accounting for the fact that you've now usually got 2 income earners for every household, right? Whereas it used to just be 1. Working hours have gone up, but he's like, but profits have not gone down. Like profits have steadily climbed. So he's like, where is that money going? Less money is going towards the working class. More money is going towards the, what does he call it? The business owner class. And so that's his whole thing. He's like, the fucking money's there. There's a growing disparity. And to his point, capitalism will collapse in a cyclical fashion every like 8 to 10 years. And so it's like you see it and you can go back and it's like the markets will plummet and then everything's fucked and then it rebuilds. And so he's like, it's just, we're due for one now. And
you got to listen to Gary then because it's similar train of thought.
Yeah, they sound it. Yeah, I'm going to check him out. Gary's Economics.
Yeah,
Fuck
Gary.
All right, let me give you a change of pace.
Okay.
Let me give you a change of pace.
That was heavy.
I'm listening to it's heavy, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And it does, I think I wasn't interested in that shit when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, me neither.
But now that, when you got a family, you're somehow more interested in the forces at play in the world, and you're also a victim to it, right? Like you probably have a mortgage and you probably have a house or an apartment or you're at least renting something and you're like, you are
shit
like,
doesn't add up.
Yeah, like, you're getting a paycheck, whatever. So yeah, it pays to be interested. And you know what, to that point, it's the same as politics because it also informs a lot of the things that you'll see happening in politics. And I mean, fuck me, if you look at America right now, like the thing that I see that's happening there, like is that the ruling class, like this elite class, have just totally taken over. And sure, it was probably some kind of elite ruling class before, but this is the fucking real ruling class. Like when you see Zuckerberg and Bezos and Musk, like the richest people in America are sitting there with the president, making moves.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy.
It is so like there is nothing covert about it, right?
Yep.
And the fact that people can have a feeling of like, fuck yeah, they're looking out for me, the little guy. You're like, that is the last motherfucker. Like that is the richest dude on the planet. He does not give a fuck about you.
And that's like pretty much main thing I see is where it affects the rich getting richer affects the normal everyday person is because that really rich person is now influencing politics.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's always been lobbying and money going towards, you know, one side or the other. Now you just see that. It's in plain daylight. They are buying influence and affecting markets and how everything works in their fucking favor. And that's going to affect the person, like, you know, us.
Yeah.
Or them, you know, in the States and everyone. But
Yeah. I mean, the fact that like they
Some
go
money.
like America's fucking mission to you, like Musk trying to influence the German election, Vance going over there, basically them trying to get a right-wing government to be the prevailing. And I mean, credit to the European leaders that are like, no, we've seen what happens when far right groups get into power, and we won't let that shit happen again.
yep,
You're like, fuck, like that's really scary, right?
scary.
Because they can have this influence, which is why I will not vote for Peter Dutton. Let me be clear on that. But yeah, change of pace. But also on the American tip,
Okay.
I've been listening to this podcast called Blowback, and my brother got me onto it. And the first season it's basically a bunch of lefties, which if you haven't detected, that's my vibe. And they are telling the story of the Iraq War when America invaded Iraq. And they just tell it detail, and they break it down, and it's a super well edited podcast. And
Okay.
it's fucking great. It is horrifying. Like it's really horrifying. And I think for a lot of us, like that war on terror thing, like early 2000s was sort of just like for us, right? Like I remember I was doing my HSC in year 12 when September 11 happened. So that whole period, I was pretty oblivious to, you know, whatever, geopolitics and fucking global conflicts. You're just like, oh yeah, war on terror is a bunch of bad guys.
Let's drop some tags, bro.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Let's paint this train. But when you go back and listen to it now, you're like, oh my God, this is fucking outrageous. So anyway, do you want me to play you a little soundbite of a conversation between George Bush Jr. and Saddam Hussein?
You've got it.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I'll play it for the people.
Okay.
This is a dramatization, guys.
Oh, okay.
This is not a real conversation.
Is there
between
accents in it?
them. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fucking great. Yeah, let me. Where are we?
Fucking hell.
Here we are.
Modern history.
magazine and
Here we are.
I fucking wish I was more interested in it at high school.
shit. All right.
How are you doing that?
Oh,
Bluetooth.
I love this show.
Sick.
Huh? Oh. Yeah, hi, this is Saddam Hussein.
Howdy there, big guy.
Who's this, Bush?
How's it hanging?
I'm fine, yeah. I'm just having a snack.
What you got going?
Some dates.
You're on date?
No, dates. It's a fruit. I don't think you have them there.
Super. So,
They're like plums or like big raisins.
right on. Right. So listen, Saddam. I was thinking we should have a chat about all this big bad war talk. You know, away from all the cameras and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I'm watching it on TV right now. Are you serious about this?
Yeah.
Oh. Why?
Listen, Saddam, as Aladdin once said, we got a whole new world here after September 9/11. And
What's that got to do with me?
well, I got to tell you, there's folks that's telling us that you helped us to plan those attackers.
Who?
Well, we got some intelligentsia that shows you were working with them. Osama bin, you know.
Oh, yeah? Who says that?
We have evidentiary, sources, testimonials, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I asked who.
Listen, it's not just even about 9/11. We got intel here showing you possess weapons, and their weapons are made for fighting.
What weapons?
Weapons of WMD.
Look, let me tell you something. I'm not sure if you know this. Your dad and I, we used to work together.
I don't need.
Just hold on. Back in the 80s, he and I were working on this project I started, the Iran-Iraq War. You ever heard of that?
That's not what the
Hey,
album.
hold on, okay? Your dad and Rumsfeld, we did some great stuff together.
Right? Good.
He invited me to his, ranch.
I love that ranch dressing. My dad's a great guy. No question there.
Well, yeah, except his buddies told me to borrow a bunch of money.
Right? That's what they do.
So I try and, jump on some assets in Kuwait, and he freaks out.
Well,
so
come on.
I don't know what that was about. But you know what? It's forgotten, okay? I don't even care now.
Here's the thing, though, Sad Am. My daddy's not running this thing. I am. I'm giving you one chance here to hand over your weapons.
What? Weapons? There are no weapons. Ask your dad.
All right, cool your jets.
I don't have any jets either.
We're just asking you to cooperate with the cooperation.
Fine. I'm happy to cooperate. Send inspectors. Make yourself at home.
Oh, what's this, a little bit of reverse psychiatry?
Reverse what?
Rabbit season. Look, you're gentrifying the international community. And I'm telling you, we're going to have to go in there.
So now we're not even doing inspectors. What happened to the inspectors?
No, we will. But if they don't find anything, we're going to go and inspect with, explosions.
What is your problem?
We got to...
Put your dad on.
No, I'm not putting Dad on.
No. You listen to me, hee-haw. Put your dad on. Put him on right now.
My dad is not here. He's at work.
Put your father on the phone.
Fuck you, talk soon.
Fuck you, Toxin. Oh, man.
That sounds fucking hilarious.
Dude, I mean, you don't get a lot of that. That's like the one at the start of the
Okay.
thing, and then it's just these dudes going on about it. It's quite a complicated show to listen. Like, they just dish out so much information. There's so much going on.
And what's their background, the guys who put it together?
They're journalists.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they've worked in multiple different like media outlets, and they give all that. But the thing that I kind of knew this, but it just reinforced to me that I'm like, oh yeah, of course. And if you watch that, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, Vice. If you watch the film Vice, which is that really good
I don't know if I saw that.
Aaron McKay film, I think he wrote it about Dick Cheney
Okay.
with Christian Bale.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I haven't seen it.
Excellent. Like, it's a fucking great film, and it's a wild story. But the thing that I forgot, right, and this is, and apologies to any Americans listening because they might know this story better than me, but when September 11 happened, it was known or thought to be that it was Al Qaeda, right, or Osama bin Laden who did that in Afghanistan or from Afghanistan.
Mm.
But somehow they managed to bring Iraq, a totally separate country, and invade Iraq as a result of this occurrence. And the picture is that Iraq had nothing to do with it. Saddam Hussein, not a good guy, right? But America had been in bed with him for many years,
Before.
doing a whole bunch of other shit in the Middle East, because fucking America does. And so they just then turned on him, and they managed to convince the whole world, the public, hey, Iraq had a hand in this 9/11 thing, so we're going in. And everyone was like, oh yeah, war on terror, weapons of mass destruction, like, makes sense. And, I think a million people dead, a million Iraqis dead.
Fuck.
Probably hundreds, I don't know how many of Americans, but,
Yeah,
tens,
that's
hundreds of thousands, like really horrific stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so it details all of that.
Yeah, that all sounds very familiar, that story. I'd like to revisit it, though. Yeah, I mean, it kind of, in the background, I'm also thinking about this Russia thing that's going on right now. And I guess these days, I think back at that time and we were young, so we weren't really that paying enough attention to it. But now I want to try to keep more attention on what's going on as it's happening and trying to get a deeper understanding of it. But sometimes it's difficult to keep up with it all.
I mean, it is, right? Yeah, it's really difficult. And
And you have to battle a lot. You have to sift through it because you're trying to figure out what's true or truer than not. Whereas you have hindsight, I suppose, in 9/11 because, ideas and truths hopefully will stand the test of time and you'll start to hear it now. But it's really fucking tricky at the moment.
I mean, I think it always is, right? Like where you get your information and it's so multifaceted too. It's not just a case of like good guy, bad guy.
Yep.
Because, and so in that way, I appreciate podcasts like that because they are, I mean, these guys say at the outset, they're like, this is a completely non-objective like assessment of like we have very strong biases here that we intend to like layer onto our argument.
Yep.
But I guess you got to choose your media sources accordingly, and
Yep.
then trying to temper that with maybe okay, what are these guys saying that maybe where are they going to embellish a bit or where are they going to lean too hard? And for something that's already happened, like the war on terror, I guess there's a bunch of media, like there's movies, right? Like that film Vice, which sort of details the story of Dick Cheney's involvement in the whole thing. You couldn't have known that in 2001, but you can now. You can watch that and go, "Holy shit, that's what was going on back then." So like the whole Russia thing, right? It's there's so many parts to that, and we get the Western centric view.
Yep.
And there's a whole, and Richard Wolff, that economist, actually, he presents often like an Eastern sort of view of that,
Interesting.
of how fucking scary the American empire has been to countries like Russia,
Yep.
and how aggressive they've been. And he's not justifying anything or pointing, but he's just going, don't get it twisted. America has been very aggressive to certain parts of the world for many decades. And so it's only natural that they would have a fear of them, versus us just seeing it as these guys are constant aggressors, and we're the good guys. I say we because we're obviously strong allies of America.
Yep. Fucking, you gotta be careful what you read. And I think of younger people and kids, and my son's just started high school, and I was glad I went to the open days. I went to like these parent-teacher, I can't remember what it's called, but it was a day. He was like 3 weeks into high school, went in there, met the teachers, and you get to sit down with all of the parents of his classmates and stuff, and get to know the curriculum a bit better. And they do have critical thinking, basically, and also there's an emphasis on where you get your sources from, and that happens actually. Wycliffe, they do it in primary school as well to a degree because the internet's such a big part of it, and so I'm glad that that's happening there. It's bringing their consciousness to like primary, secondary sources, what's real, what's not, where are you getting this information from. So they do these projects, and they have to consider these factors, and I just think that is so important. I don't know how it's delivered exactly, but I'm just glad that that's part of the conversation ongoing, like from an early age, because it's so important.
Yeah, it is. That's cool. On that, do you get to meet, like, do you connect much with the other parents, or is it more just you go in and the teachers tell you their bit and then get the fuck out of there?
Yeah, we chatted to some of the parents. He's lucky because he's in this class with 4 or 5 other students from his primary school. So, so we already knew those people. Probably means that we didn't really go out of our way to meet the other parents just yet. But that'll happen as he builds new friend relationships and stuff. We'll probably end up meeting them. But it's a bit different to primary school, I think, just because high school's they're a bit older, and you have, you don't have to take them absolutely everywhere to every birthday party and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There it is. 2 good podcasts for you guys to check out. Gary's Economics.
Yep.
Blowback. I'll put links in the show notes so you can hit it up there. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you on the next one.
See you, bro.